Within 6 months of hearing Ted's presentation and getting his course, taking it home, I went to my first auction. And the only reason I waited 6 months is because I was living on Eastern Long Island at that time. Well, the county I was in, their next tax deed auction was not until about a year later. And the next most convenient county only does liens. So I found myself having to travel upstate New York. And I went up to a county called Ulster County. And one of the suggestions I have for you is make sure you know the rules. Because knowing the rules versus not knowing the rules can make the difference between getting a great investment and losing a great investment. So when you're out there in the foreclosure world, make sure if you need to have certified funds that you have them certified, or bank check, or whatever it is. And that sounds like a little nuance, but it's very important if you get to the auction and they won't take your money, even if you're a winning bidder. And Ted can tell you stories of people that have lost valuable homes because they just didn't have the right funds, and the next bidder got them. So I started my research and found that there were 30 single-family homes, which is what I wanted to focus on, available. And about 3 weeks before the auction, I went up and in the course of about 2 days, visited all 30 homes. And as Ted mentioned, there were, I have a little property evaluation form, much like the one that's in your materials. Went out and took pictures of all the houses, stapled them to my property evaluation form. Fill out the form, because when you're seeing 30 houses in the course of 2 days, it's very easy to confuse them. And felt armed and ready to go to the auction. And so then I went to the auction. The auction, as I said, was about 3 weeks later. And I arrived, and it was in the cafeteria of a local college. It was probably about 4 times the size of this room. And it's funny, it's still the only auction where when you sign up and register, they give you a paper plate with a number on it. A very sophisticated system. So I got my paper plate, and I sat down. And then I went up, and I noticed that there was a little bulletin board that said redeemed properties with a bunch of numbers. It's interesting. What's that? I went over and checked it out, and long story short, out of my 30 properties that I had already researched, 28 of them were gone. So I had to do everything I could to just stay in the room. I mean, what's the point? The room's beginning to fill up with people, right? About 300, 350 people arrived. And of course, I'm sure that all 300, 350 people want my 2 houses. Yeah. So we sat through the auction. Parcel number 1, parcel number 2, I was parcel like 70. Days wearing on, I'm getting tired, to say the least. And up comes the first of those 2. It was a little blue bungalow, upstate New York, tucked away on a dirt road. The pavement ended, the dirt road continued, bumpy, all kinds of things. And there was this cute little house that needed an awful lot of, a good amount of work. Let's just say it didn't have a whole lot of curb appeal. And the auction, the bidding started. And much to my surprise, only one other person was bidding against me. The house was worth about $51,000. And when the gavel went down, so to speak, I purchased that house for $6,500. I couldn't have done it without what Ted taught me. So I didn't think there was such a thing as a $6,500 inhabitable house. But not only was it inhabitable, it was inhabited. There was a fellow living in it. Oops, yeah, whoops. So having learned that, having had the experience of going from 30 properties down to 2, and having now purchased a home and a person for only $6,500, I called Ted and said, now what the hell do I do? So Ted said, well, congratulations. And I said, before I get the words out of my mouth, somebody said, well, as I was paying for the house, I said, you know about the redemption period, right? Sure, right. Sure, absolutely. Here you go. Give me my house. So I came back, got on the phone. Ted, talk to me about this redemption period thing. And this is where his 20 years of experience came in, because before actually I even asked the question, he came back to me. He answered the phone. I told him I successfully purchased the home, and he said, and you want to know about the redemption period? I swear. I said, yeah, I really want to know about it. So we talked about the rules. You need to know the rules, right? In New York, most counties, but not every county, have a redemption period of 12 months, which means that the owner has 12 months from the date of the auction to redeem the property by paying, in this case, back $6,500. He's living in it. That's kind of interesting now. So I said to Ted, well, here's the situation. The fellow's living in the house. What do you recommend that I do? And do I start foreclosure, eviction proceedings? What do I do? And he said, why don't you go talk to him? So I did. And I went up, and I found out he was just a very nice gentleman who had a number of problems. So we spoke. He said, I know I have to leave. Can you give me a little bit of time? And I said, sure, we'll work something out. And I knew that he was working with a neighbor. I went over and I saw the neighbor who was helping him out. And lo and behold, within 3 or 4 weeks, they had found a place for him to live. And he moved out peacefully. And there was never a problem. The next week, actually before he moved out, I said, is it okay if I show I want to show the property, I'm going to be selling it? He said, no problem. I'll help out any way I can. It's interesting because he was just a nice, nice gentleman. And so I placed the ad, an ad that Ted recommended that I put in. And it said something like, foreclosure bargain. Assessed value, $51,000, must sell $6,500. I'm sorry, must sell $29,900. And from that one little tiny ad, I got 54 phone calls. At Ted's suggestion also, he said, don't go up, don't make 15 different appointments to go show this house. Just tell him you'll be up there Sunday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's what we did. Went up there Sunday. It was pouring rain. And by the time I arrived, 3 or 4 people were already there, mulling around this guy's house, in the house with him. Thankfully, I came armed with a box of cookies, sat down with them. We had some cookies while people were going through the house. And before I left, I had 2 written offers and deposits for that house. And I sold it within 4 weeks for $29,900.